Okay, yeah, so we're ready. We've got a few people here. We have some people watching online. So I'll just say a few words to those people here, and I'll say it in German, just in case.
Sure.
Okay, also wir fangen an jetzt mit der Idee, dass erstmal die zwei Damen von der George Washington University das Programm dort vorstellen, aber sie sagt auch allgemein was zu, wie das so funktioniert mit diesen Summer Study Sessions jetzt in dem Fall in den USA. Und dann danach kann man noch Fragen stellen, wenn Sie noch Zeit haben, auch den Damen oder uns dann. Und wir würden uns dann verabschieden und dann kann ich auch noch Fragen beantworten auf Deutsch oder nochmal was sagen, was unklar war. Auf jeden Fall. Okay? So anyway, Claire, that was my quick introduction. So you can basically take it away.
Okay, thank you. And you can hear us okay, correct?
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay. Well, we can't see our screen, but our technology, we don't want to mess it up right now. So you can see the slides, and we'll come back on and say hello with our faces later. We just don't want to mess anything up. So we'll just start with going forward with our slides then. So we're very delighted that you are interested in learning about summer study in the United States. As we mentioned, we're from the George Washington University, but we'll be here to talk about all the different programs across the United States, about summer and special programs through all the different universities in the U.S. So what are the benefits of summer? Well, the main thing is you get to test a U.S. college experience. You get to live and eat on campus. You can socialize with American and other international students. We bring a lot of students from across the world and across the country to the U.S., to college campuses in the U.S. So there's a lot of opportunity to interact with people of all different ages. We're going to talk about various programs at the pre-college level, so high school, undergraduate, and graduate, because a lot of different universities have different programs for different groups of students. So you may be interested in one or the other. You may have siblings who are interested in one or the other. So stick with us, and we'll definitely walk you through it, and we'll definitely be happy to take questions at the end. So if we don't get to your questions while we're talking, we'll definitely be sure to get to them at the end. So as I was saying, the other benefits of summer are that you definitely get better access to faculty. There seem to be fewer students on most campuses during the summer. At George Washington, for example, we have about 25,000 students who come during the actual annual year. During the summer, it drops to about 5,000 or 6,000. So a lot fewer. You'll have better access. Your classes might be smaller. You'll actually have one-on-one interaction with your faculty because there's not as many big lecture classes that are offered. So it's much more of an intimate, intense experience for that. The classes also tend to be much more experiential in nature. You get a first-hand experience of outside your traditional classroom, depending upon where you are, and we'll talk more later about the different types of university settings that you could be in. You get to actually experience what's outside. So in an urban environment, so in a city environment, you might go and speak with people who are professionals in their field, at policymakers, those kinds of things, businesses. If you're in a more rural setting, you might actually be focusing on agriculture and going out to speak with people focused on agriculture or suburban development or things like that. So there are different opportunities to actually experience things outside of the traditional classroom environment. You'll also have a much more focused study. You can complete a semester's worth of foreign language, for example, or science or math in just a few weeks. We'll talk about the length of programs. They really do vary, but it's usually just a couple of weeks. You can actually fit an entire, what you might have to do in a fall or spring semester can be an entire, can just be in a couple of weeks at the university. We have a lot of creative programs that you can take, courses such as either extracurricular activities or courses that might just be for fun. If you just want to have a fun summer and come and not do anything too intense, you might be able to do that as well. We have things there at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, for example. They have a creative alliance. They do things that are focused on music rehearsals, poetry readings, film screenings. At West Virginia University, which is near the mountains, they have a summer dance academy. Yale has a summer films institute. Northwestern University in Chicago has writing workshops. Rutgers University has a summer acting conservatory. The George Washington University, we've acquired the Corcoran College of Art and Design, so we have a lot of design and photography and painting classes also. So there are lots of creative outlets as well as more traditional academic outlets. So as I mentioned before, there's a lot of different environments that you can. So many of you may already know this, but for those of you who are less familiar with the United States, we have, I'm going to go through a very brief geography lesson. We have, when you're thinking about a school, when you're thinking about an institution, whether it's for a full-time program or specifically also, in this case, a short-term program, you want to think about your geographic location. Where do you want to be? The good thing in the United States, the summer is pretty warm everywhere, so you're not really going to be able to escape that too much. It's hotter in some places than others, but North Dakota can still get pretty darn warm during the summer. So consider also the kind of cultural experience you want to have. Do you want to be in the East Coast, the West Coast, Midwest, South? And I don't want to stereotype by any means, but there's some different cultural experiences that you'll have in each place. In California, you'll get, perhaps in the West Coast, you might get more beach locations. It'll be a little more laid back sometimes. On the East Coast, we tend to be very focused on career, and we're very close in proximity to other cities. So from Washington, D.C., it's only a 4-hour drive to get to New York City or to Philadelphia, down to Richmond. So it's very close to get to all of these places. We tend to be a little bit more movable in some ways. Whereas the South, things can, it definitely gets very hot in the South. People also, there's a strong a sense of tradition in the South. You'll find a lot more traditional U.S. foods, for example, there as well. There's that sense of really tradition, as I was saying. And then in the North and the Midwest, again, you'll find it's a pretty big expanse, and I'm sure not unlike Germany. We have a lot of farmland too. So the Midwest, you'll tend to find more farmland because it's just a greater expanse of area that exists there. So that's a very poor but brief explanation of the geographic diversity of the United States. So you'll want to think about that when you're looking at a campus. And then again, that goes along with the kind of campus setting you want. If you're looking for a rural institution, that would be more located in the country, often near the farms, wilderness, small town. Most are self-contained, with the majority of students that do live on campus, and there's really a strong sense of community there. You're going to have a lot more access to outdoor learning opportunities, particularly in fields such as agriculture or environmental science, as I mentioned. If you're looking for an urban experience, something like George Washington University, for example, is in Washington, D.C. We offer a lot of off-campus learning experiences. They can include opportunities to explore the work world through cooperative classes, internships. We tend to attract very culturally diverse students. Obviously, cities attract a lot of diverse groups of people, so you're going to find a much more intense experience with culturally diverse people in cities, because there's just a lot more people to interact with. You can find entertainment options like museums, concerts, and plays, both on and off campus. And cities often also have a very strong public transportation option, so like the metro, subway, it's very easy to get around. Now, if you have a suburban, that's sort of in between the two. Suburban campuses are in small cities, large towns, or residential areas near cities. They combine some of the best features of urban and rural. They usually offer access to nearby cities and also have outdoor activities nearby. And they also do have pretty good transportation in terms of connections to the town where they are located. So kind of in between. Suburban, I know in different cultures, suburban can have a negative connotation. Here it does not. In the United States, it's usually a pretty insular community, but with access to a lot of things as well. In terms of size, again, smaller campuses have more intimate settings. Larger campuses may have more activities and groups. You just want to explore each one individually. And then the last thing is the type of school, public versus private or versus community. So just a really brief introduction, and I'm sure your Education USA advisors can explain a lot more about this as well. But we have mostly 2 to 3 different types of institutions here. First one is public and state schools. Those tend to be the ones that are larger in class size. They have more social activities, and their tuition actually tends to be a little bit cheaper because they are usually catering to in-state students, so those who live in the surrounding areas. Private institutions tend to be more research-focused. They have they're academically challenging, and they're student-focused. They usually have more of a common theme woven into the entire curriculum. Costs tend to be higher, but the class sizes also tend to be smaller, so it's a trade-off with that. And then the last kind, and they don't tend to offer as many summer programs, but our community college. Those are usually 2-year institutions. You can get an associate's degree or some type of diploma. They are generally lower in tuition costs, and a lot of students, both international and domestic, start at the school, community college level to find the right fit for them when they move forward. And they decide they want to go for a 4-year degree. So now I'm going to talk about pre-college programs. So this is for high school students. So I don't know if anyone is watching who's particularly interested in pre-college programs, but you may have a sibling who might be. So we'll just want to give you the range of things that we offer at various institutions. So you can get credit when you come to, so you can be in high school and still get university credit. You can also do non-credit programs. It just depends. Programs may offer university credit for successful completion of your academic courses. You'll receive an official transcript, and the credit can transfer to other universities. Non-credit programs tend to be more experiential in nature. They offer enrichment courses designed to enhance or complement certain areas of a student's studies or interests. You can receive a letter grade or a pass-fail for credit and non-credit programs. There's also English for academic, English as a second language option. So I don't think that's necessarily too much of a problem for most of you in Germany, but I know most of you speak English better than many of us do. So I would just say, but if you are interested, also there's ways to improve your English at different places as well. So the types of courses, classes can be mixed with undergraduates or be exclusively for high school students, depending upon the program that they enter. There are general ed courses or specialized programs for different areas of study. For example, at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, you can explore the medical field. They're very well known for their medicine. At George Washington, we have what we call summer immersive. That's a non-credit. We have sessions on crime and justice, foreign policy. Stanford University offers summer intensive studies, focused, for example, on water and the environment. Boston University, a summer intensive journalism workshop. You can also, at Brown University in Syracuse, focus on TOEFL prep or English as a second language. Everybody, for the most part, when you're in pre-college programs, you're going to live on campus. You're going to live in the university dorms. You're going to have a meal plan. There's a lot of focus on safety and security. You're going to have probably a little bit more focus, a little more attention than you would as if you were an undergraduate or graduate level student, just because of your age. There's going to be resident directors who are there to support you and also to make sure that you are. Their number one concern is your safety. So there will probably be some curfews, and they'll sign in and sign out. So I know parents might like that a lot as well. There are both international and domestic students that attend many of these pre-college programs. You can live and study with peers from all over the country and around the world and learn about the different cultures. So you might be from Germany, but you're going to have a colleague, or one of your roommates might be from China or from Australia or from New Mexico in the United States. So you might meet people from all over the world. In terms of the admission process, it really depends on the university that you're applying to. There are different requirements for credit and non-credit. And Andrea will talk about the timeline later on in terms of when you want to apply for things. So she'll talk much more about that actual admissions process. But usually it's a little bit simpler than the general process for an application for full-time study. Pre-college tends to be a little bit more intensive because you will have to actually usually write an essay for some programs, but again, it just depends on the program that you're looking at. Some universities also do offer early start programs. That means if you're already admitted as an incoming freshman at a university, you might have the chance to take courses in the summer and get acclimated to campus early. Syracuse and Penn State are two examples of that place. And what are really the benefits? So you get a chance to test out college life and live away from home and experience independence and responsibilities of college. You're better prepared to attend university, whether it's in the United States or abroad, or actually at home for you. You get to take classes taught by university faculty. You get to meet admissions counselors, and you possibly can earn credit if you decide to go that way. So now I'm going to switch to the undergrad and graduate level study. This is an opportunity for you to be in class, again, with American and international peers. So schools recruit from around the world, so you're going to find a really wide variety of students enrolled in the summer. I'm looking right now in our office. We have a map of where we've had students from in our summer programs, and I think we've hit every continent, and we've got quite a few from all around the world. So you really have a very diverse group of students who will come. So you might be with people from, your roommate will probably not be from Germany. Also, we have some international students that there are international students already studying in the United States, so you may meet some of those students in your classes, and they can help acclimate you to a new environment as well. Generally, visiting students take general courses, so again, you're integrated with American and other international students at the university. Again, experiential programs. This is really about engaging the community as part of your classroom experience. You'll have guest lectures, site visits. Oftentimes, especially in the summer, there's more focus because the timeline is so short. Real-life project-based assignments. So it's not as many tests or essays. Sometimes that is, but it's really focused on what you're experiencing and having a real-life project to complete. So summer institutes are something a little bit different, and it depends on each university. The summer institute, these tend to be specialized topics, programs, and sometimes audiences. They can be workshops, a series of on-campus week-long courses, or a hybrid model of all of the above. You really just want to look, when you see something that says summer institutes, I would encourage you to explore that at each institution because they tend to be a little different. They can be for teachers, students, or professionals. For example, Northwestern University offers a writers' conference, also training for teachers and negotiation. These are short-term workshops. Here at GW, we offer some institutes that are focused on crime scene investigation, Japanese language and culture, museum exhibition design, etc. These are usually 1 to 2 months, and ours are credit-bearing. Syracuse University offers leadership and technology, conflict management, and McGill University in Canada offers classical studies, so a focus on intensive language, history, and cultural site visits. So as you see, they're very distinct, so I would really, again, encourage you to look at each institution individually. In terms of custom programs, this may be as if you're from a university or from an organization or an institution that you know that there may be 20 students, for example, 20 of you who want to study a specific topic and do a specialized program. This is when universities here will work with universities or other institutions abroad, so in your countries, to focus on a specialized topic for you, tailored to the needs of you or your sending school. It can be for credit or not credit. This can also be an English language program option. And then again, admission and visa requirements. This is really minimal application requirements. It's much easier than applying for a degree program. Most courses, or most universities, excuse me, just offer basic course require just basic course registration. You are required to have health insurance if you are sponsored on a visa. Usually you'll be on an F1 visa if you're coming for a program. We will issue, the host institutions, we issue the I-20, which is the document that will get you your visa, F1 visa, and you can sign up for your interview abroad. Some places do have a TOEFL requirement or other, you must demonstrate that basically you have had English language instruction. And then there are some schools, and it depends upon the program, that may require a short essay. But again, much, much simpler than your 4-year degree program application, because you're coming for about 6 to 8 to 10 weeks, which is very different than coming for 4 years. And lastly, before I hand it off, we just want to quickly talk about financing your summer, because that is always a question. Summertime actually tends to have much more limited financial aid from institutions. There are some scholarships. Again, it depends on the institutions. I would look for foundation and government funding. So EducationUSA can probably help you locate some potential options for funding your study. We don't have, in the United States, there tends to be fewer options because federal aid does not actually always cover for short-term programs. There are some out there, so I would encourage you to look. And again, just the costs vary per university. So again, you'll want to think about your location, your length of the program, and then that would actually determine how much it may cost, because it could be anywhere from maybe $2,000 US up to $10,000 US, depending upon the credits and the time that you're spending here. So now I'm going to pass this off to Andrea, and she will be able to talk more about all of the activities beyond the academics.
Great. I get to talk about the fun stuff. Okay, so student support services. You'll probably be familiar with a lot of these if you're currently attending an institution abroad or here, but they're also available over the summer to visiting students. So libraries, universities tend to have extensive resources, even if not directly on campus, definitely within a consortia, or they'll be able to borrow or find something for you fairly quickly. All schools will have an International Student Services Office, and these are the professionals that can help you with any of your visa and immigration questions. If you have questions about whether or not you can work while you're here, or questions about where you can travel, and they're really great resource for students when they're here. We'll have a student health office, fitness centers, career centers, and often in summer programs, particularly those focused on being more experiential, the office that hosts the program will also try to partner with some of these services to help kind of provide a really rounded experience, like maybe giving you a library tour so that you have your sense of things, or maybe partnering with the career center for some kind of workshop. So you should get a pretty good idea of what's available to you. Often programs will have a course advisor. In the case of GW, that's me, and they'll be able to work with you one-on-one and particularly helping you through the many options that you have and trying to figure out, based on your current academic trajectory, what makes sense for you, what courses should you be in, what program fits best, and kind of helping you to acclimate to the variety of options that you have when you visit. So there's lots of things going on a university campus over the summer. So although there are going to probably be less students no matter what school you choose to attend over the summer, there are by no means a lack of services. We welcome summer students, so you'll have lots of opportunities to engage with the campus beyond your classroom. And speaking of, living on campus is an important part of a lot of programs, although in some cases, particularly in urban environments, you may also be able to find accommodations off campus. But for now, I'll focus on those students who either choose or because the program dictates they must live on campus, kind of what that experience is generally like. So what you can anticipate on most campuses would be shared rooms. So having roommates, sharing a bathroom or common area, sharing a kitchen perhaps is fairly typical. And in some cases, depending on the size of the university, you may be able to request individual accommodations. It just really depends on where you're going. But so shared rooms is something that you should consider when you're looking at programs because it's fairly typical. Kitchens, you will mostly have access to kitchen in some shape or form. I know here at GW it takes every possible form, everything from one kitchen in the residence hall that all the residents share, a kitchen on each floor that those floor mates share, or sometimes in the upperclassmen dorms we even have individual kitchens in each room. So it really runs the gamut, but we want to make sure that students know that while you're living on campus, if you do choose to cook, you will probably have that option regardless of what university you choose to attend. Common space, again, is typical of residence halls, so an area where you can study or meet the other people living in your hall, or maybe there might be a few activities hosted there. And actually that goes right into resident advisors, who Claire mentioned are often not only for pre-college programs, but for undergraduate and graduate programs as well, can be a really important part of the experience. You can think of them as mentors. They're your liaisons to the university. They know their way around. They know where the writing center is. They know how to get to student health. And they're really there to make sure that you have a really holistic experience, that you enjoy your class, but that you also, if you have questions or if you're curious about the city that you're in or the state that you're in or how to get to and from somewhere, that there's people there who have a good sense of that, are eager to help and eager to get to know you living right in your residence hall. And then finally, dining options. Many U.S. campuses have some sort of dining hall, a central place where you purchase a meal plan and you can come and, you know, almost buffet style, or everyone does it different, but where you can come, get food, sit down, you know, socialize. And it tends to be different depending on whether you're in a very rural setting, where that's probably very typical. Everything that you could possibly think of will be right on campus for you. To a more urban setting like George Washington, where perhaps there's no traditional dining hall or meal plan, but there are a variety of establishments on and directly off campus that you can choose from, so that you're definitely not going to go hungry no matter where you go, but the way that the dining works may be different across regions and types of schools as well. And then social experiences. So this ties in well with our discussion of resident advisors and that more experiential summer component. So when you're not in class and when you're looking to get to know the U.S., get to know your peers, Often schools will have social experiences a few times a week and on the weekends, trying to get you acclimated to the area and to really make sure that you get the most out of your experience. So these will vary from purely social things, like you can think of perhaps a potluck dinner where everybody brings food, or going to get ice cream together because, as Claire mentioned, it can get quite hot in the summer, to more professional visits with practitioners in the field, perhaps hearing a lecture at a local institution, to maybe that workshop partnered with the Career Center so that you can get a better sense of how your CV would translate if you were hoping to get a job in your field. We'll also do visits to local area sites. So, of course, that'll look different, not only whether you're rural or urban, but also just where you are in the country. So, in some cases, it may be a day trip if you're in the Midwest to the next state to see St. Louis and see the Arch and take in the sights. Or if you're on the East or the West Coast, where cities tend to be a little closer together, one popular trip that we always do is a day trip to Philadelphia, so that's possible as well. You may also do have networking opportunities with your peers also, because the variety of people that will come to study over this summer will run the gamut from current students to working professionals, so you can learn a lot from each other. But we also definitely try to arrange networking opportunities with local professionals in different businesses and different industries. And then national sporting events. It's not universal that there will be a stadium right nearby. I know we have one in our backyard, but soccer and baseball are really popular over the summer. So with any luck, no matter where you go, you'll be able to find a place where maybe you can catch a live game and really get to meet the other people who have come to share that summer experience with you. And this is the general timeline that Claire alluded to about when you can kind of research and apply for programs. So, and I would like to start by saying that because you're attending this session right now in January, you are by no means late. This is a wonderful time to kind of begin thinking about what you'll be doing this summer, but this is just a very general timeline, and it'll vary a little bit by school, so definitely doing that individual research if there's a program you have in mind. So in the fall, that's a great time to research summer programs and opportunities, particularly because this is about the time of year when institutions will be determining what they're going to be offering the coming summer. So there will be lots of updates to websites and getting information out to students in those fall months so that when application season starts, everybody has all the information they need. So fall tends to be a good time for research, and going into the winter. It's also a good time to make sure that your passport is valid and to start thinking about those logistics of what does travel mean. So that's a great opportunity to kind of get yourself ready. Winter for many schools tends to be when the application cycle starts, and of course I'm saying fall, winter, spring, summer, according to the way that we experience them here in the States. But November, December, many programs tend to open their application cycle. They tend to start doing advising, maybe working with students one-on-one, either through some kind of online chat. I know we do Skype, and just you can start to get in touch with programs and get a better sense of what's required of their applications. Submitting the documents throughout the spring. So you can see we have January through March submitting additional documents and receiving your decision from programs. So you're right at the beginning, which is great. It's always great to get an early start for these types of programs because there are a lot of logistics involved with traveling internationally. I'm sure you're all well aware. But also because it gives you an opportunity to explore all the possible options that may interest you and really have a finalized decision by the time that you need to start getting all of those visa documents finalized. And that timeline is kind of that late spring, early summer. So we have March, April, finalizing your tuition payments. Some programs will ask for a deposit, so some kind of first payment to ensure that you plan to enroll. This is a great time to confirm your housing. Sometimes programs arrange that for you. Sometimes they'll put you in touch with the housing office, or maybe you're finding a place off campus. And then just checking those health insurance requirements, particularly if you plan on trying to get your own insurance for the summer months. And then in the summer itself, so May through August, You're going to have probably some kind of orientation, in some cases maybe a pre-orientation or at least information sent out so you know what to expect when you travel. You'll be arriving on campus, checking in with the International Services Office. And we wrote May through August because those are very typical summer months for U.S. universities. Some may go as late as September. Some universities in the U.S. work off of a quarter system, so it may vary, but in general what you can expect is that May through August there will be summer programming. It also may vary in length, which Claire talked about a little bit. At GW we have 6 all the way to 14-week summer courses. So just checking on what works best with your school schedule, because we realize that sometimes it's a bit of an adjustment to make sure that you can be here when our summer programs are happening. But those are the typical months that you can expect to be here in the States. And then, as I kind of mentioned, it's always really good idea if you have an idea. So you've thought about what region you want to study in, you've thought about where in the U.S. you want to be. Starting to explore those individual school websites is really going to help, because not only do they have their own requirements and timeline, but it's also a great opportunity to get to either know the professionals working in that program and maybe chatting with them one-on-one about what your interests are. It's a really great step to take, particularly this early, because again, you're on the front of the process, so you have lots of time to kind of look through a variety of options that happen here. So we noted 2 websites. So there's the North American Association of Summer Sessions and the Association of University Summer Sessions. Those aren't the members of those 2 associations aren't the only summer sessions, to be sure. You can pretty much find summer classes at any U.S. institution, but it's a great place to start because these are organizations where they have a real interest not only in summer, but the specific schools that we've kind of bolded in that Association of University Summer Sessions picture are also very interested in international student recruitment and having a very diverse and lively campus during the summer. So definitely something to check out because it may help you when you're first starting to kind of get a smaller set of schools to take a look at, because there's a lot of options. It can help to kind of narrow them down. So that was it for the formal portion of the presentation, and now we know that it's probably hard to hear disembodied voices, so we're about to come back so we can take questions.
All right, let's see if we can make this work. Oh, there we are. Hello.
Hello. Can you see us?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
The way this works is because we basically have this one microphone. If somebody has a question, they can ask me. They can also ask in German, and I will tell you in German. No, I'll ask you in English. And then
okay. Our German is a little weak. So, and by the way, I'm Claire. And
I'm Andrea.
Just so you know who's who. You've heard the voices, now you see the faces.
Okay, great. So I'll ask. Möchte jemand was fragen? Questions? I'll turn my camera on. Just hang on a second.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Oh, there you are.
I think your microphone is muted, though.
I did mute the microphone. So anyway, I have a question about these 2 last sites that you showed. We also have a search function to search for different programs.
I don't think the AUSS, the Association of University Summer Sessions, has, they're working on it. So they may not have one yet, but it's a work in process, so work in progress. So I think if it's not up yet, it hopefully will be soon. But I don't think it either necessarily have a robust search function thus far.
But what they will have is a list and links out to each one of those places. So if you just need a starting point, it's still a really good site to check out.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see. Jemand noch eine Frage?
Actually, I was interested in teachers' courses. Do you think are there any special courses for teachers, exam sessions for teachers?
Yes, but I'll let them answer. So the question is about courses for teachers, sort of professional teachers who teach in other countries, if there's some aim particularly on them, if you know anything about that.
Sure. There are There are quite a few. It depends on, again, I would look at the schools that have schools of education in particular. I know George Washington University does, but there are many universities that do, and it depends what you're trying to practice. If you're if you're a teacher for middle school or so younger ages at the high school level, so if you're doing test preparation, if you're doing English as a second language, or another language studies, they have all different kinds, and there are usually actually teachers are a very popular group of people, a cohort of people that actually summer programs do try to have programs for. They may not, sometimes they are also specialized, so if there's a group of teachers, if you maybe are in a program with a you know, maybe 20 other students or 10 other students, and you're all interested in coming for a short-term program, as I mentioned previously, there are cohort custom programs that universities can do too, and they can tailor to your needs. So either way, but there are definitely a lot of different opportunities.
Okay. Would you have an idea where to start to find programs such as these?
I'm trying to think of some great ones. There's a lot of schools that are very excellent education. Columbia University is an excellent school for education. George Washington, obviously, he has a school of graduate school of education. I believe the University of Minnesota has a pretty strong, specifically for international students too, and international education. Vanderbilt University.
And I can't think of any particular schools, but I know that a lot of the Northeast, we tend to almost call it a teacher's corridor. So I know, for example, the state of Pennsylvania, a lot of schools in Pennsylvania are called teachers' colleges, which means not that that's all they teach, but just that that's such a robust portion of what they do that they've earned the nickname. So definitely looking at schools there as well.
And there are quite a few actually in the Midwest and the South, so sort of what the region around the North Carolina region definitely has a lot of schools, and North Carolina, Tennessee, as well as I know Illinois, the University of Illinois, and some of the larger state schools, they have very large university or colleges that have thousands and thousands of teachers and students who are interested in education, whether it's at the primary level or the tertiary level.
Yes, and I'll do the plug for us, of course. You can go ask at EducationUSA Center. So in this case, me. And I will help. And if I don't know, I'll ask around, and I can ask the nice people from all over, such as colleagues from the universities or summer programs. Waiting for questions. All right. So if somebody has more. You said TOEFL requirements. Does that also depend on what kind of program you're doing? Like, would you do if you want to attend regular programs such as undergraduate degree or level programs, you probably have to have a TOEFL. And let's say if you do something like a school program for school kids, it's a different requirement.
So were you asking about the distinction? I'll start this way. So there is a distinction most schools make between their undergraduate and graduate level studies and entering into a full degree or certification program. They tend to have higher TOEFL requirements, and sometimes they're more difficult to waive simply because of the commitment that the university is making, the visa sponsorship. For summer programs at large, regardless of what you plan to study there, the TOEFL requirements tend to be a little lower, and or there are more opportunities to waive. For example, I know that we always look at whether you've studied in English at your current university, and that plays a factor as well. So they tend to be a little more lax, and you have the opportunity to present other experiences to possibly waive those requirements.
So basically, if you either study here, or you can say, well, my school here in Germany certifies I've done English from grade 5 to 12, and I've reached a level of B2 or C1, that many summer programs might be flexible on waiving having to have a. Okay, great.
Depending on their visa requirements, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a general thing about flexibility. It seems that generally it's much more flexible easier to get into, in a sense, and you also can talk to the people. I mean, you can talk to general admissions too. I hope they're not listening. But there's more flexibility. Okay.
Absolutely.
And one thing about the summer offices too, we tend to be smaller. The admissions offices tend to be a bit larger because they're admitting more students on a regular basis. So it's easier. It is easier to usually, you can call the office and there's somebody in our office who will be who's available to talk and answer your questions for sure. Also, as Andrea mentioned, Skype and other chat opportunities, whether it could be Google Hangout for some. There's also a program I should mention in a couple weeks. A bunch of summer sessions we'll be doing a chat on College Week Live. So there will be opportunities also to meet with a bunch of different schools at that point and to learn more about summer schools. And that'll be on February 4th. So I should mention that as well. So just to log into College Week Live. And I think there's about 11 different universities that will be doing things through that.
All right. I'll let Marty Bennett know that you're...
Yes, we're doing with Marty. So.
Sie noch Fragen? Ja?
Habe ich das richtig verstanden, dass die Studenten dort, während man den Kurs hat, gerade Ferien haben? Oder ist ganz normal?
Ich lasse Sie beantworten, wir können es auch. Okay, the question was aimed at the other students there, whether they are on vacation or not, and if you could clarify what exactly the American students are doing in the summer or not, and how that works with the sessions.
What the campus looks like.
Yeah, what the campus looks like a little bit.
Sure, so it will vary. So here, because again, that rural-urban distinction and how the programs are paced, so you may have some students on campus who, as a part of their degree, are actually continuing straight through the summer. So I'm thinking here of engineers and people in the medical field who may just need that extra semester. So you're definitely going to have your year-round students who might need to stay and or want to stay during the summer to graduate early. So that cohort of regularly attending university students, I know that in some places, maybe on the West Coast, East Coast, and perhaps even in the Midwest and South, but we have a lot of visiting students who are interested in interning and getting that practical experience. So GW plays host to, hundreds of interns each year that maybe they're taking a class at GW or maybe not. Maybe they're just interning in Capitol Hill and working in Congress. So people who are working through some professional aspirations. You'll also have visiting faculty doing research. Summer is really a time when lots of our faculty get there, particularly at private universities. Claire was saying they tend to be very research-oriented. And so that's also a time when students are coming on to assist in faculty research. So you'll have those types of things happening. And then, of course, all of our special summer program visiting students. We also have a lot of special programs that our domestic students are able to participate in. So just a lot of visiting students from the country and the world.
So just quick clarification. In the special programs, there's probably roughly the same amount of national students or domestic students and international ones, or do you have more international ones?
There's actually probably, at George Washington, and we don't know the percentage at different universities, it will vary. We tend to have a pretty high percentage of international students that come. Overall, through the year, we have about 12% of our student bodies international. That's generally the same for our visiting cohort, for our summer programs as well. So you'll find, but that's again in over about 6,000 students total. So you're probably going to find 600 or 700 students that are 500 to 700 students. It depends on the programs, but that are international during the summer.
Okay.
At George Washington, for example. Again, it'll change at each university, but usually around the ones that are more focused on recruiting international students and have a higher international student population will have probably around the same percentage, somewhere between 10 and 15% of their student body will be international.
Okay. I'll relay that message quickly in German. Okay. Just a very quick. Also, es ist zwar Ferien, aber es sind auch sowohl die regulären Studierenden da, die einfach was nachholen müssen oder was vorarbeiten wollen. Und dann sind viele Einheimische, die an anderen Unis sind, die jetzt aber im Sommer dorthin kommen, entweder weil sie sich was Besseres erhoffen oder weil sie was Spezielles teilnehmen. Und bei diesen speziellen Programmen, die sind eigentlich auch immer gemischt. Außer natürlich, wenn man jetzt eins nimmt, den Englisch als Fremdsprache, dann hat man natürlich keine Einheimischen. Okay? Alright, so. Jetzt noch Fragen? right, waiting for questions, but seems to have exhausted most of them. So maybe one last thing. I'll just give you the opportunity to just say your final statements, both of you. What do you think is the best thing about a summer session at a U.S. university?
Okay, so I'll go with the ability to complete a lot of coursework in a short amount of time. I know that that's also one of the favorite reasons for our domestic students as well, but it's a really wonderful opportunity to, particularly in the very immersive fields like language, where it's really helpful to kind of have those successive periods of study, one right after another, and so that you can really immerse yourself in the fieldwork. And or another tactic is, if you are not perhaps a fan of mathematics and this is the time when you would like to wipe the slate clean of those requirements, it's nice to be able to move through those things quickly, but not only quickly, with the attention of your faculty, because that's really a time when they have less going on, their teaching load is probably less, and the classroom is likely smaller. And so I think that that component of summer study is really special.
And I would add to that just that the experience of being in a different place, a different environment, so you're used to university, you're already taking university classes perhaps, but getting out and seeing a different location, a different part of the world, a different way of doing things has always been beneficial. You can talk to anybody who's ever traveled or experienced a study abroad experience, and it's really, it can be transformative. And I think even just 6 weeks in the United States can make a huge difference in the way you perceive things and the way you approach, the way you study, and the way you approach other people as well. So I would highly recommend, especially if you've never done it before, just taking the leap, but also just if you have done it before, it's just another great way to experience something different and a new part of the world.
All right. Well, thank you. And unless somebody else now came up with a question, then we'd say thank you, and we'll be in touch, and we hope this all works with the recording, and so we'll share.
Well, thank you, and we are obviously you are there to answer questions for folks at in person, but we're also very happy to, as we mentioned, via Skype or email, or you're welcome to pick up the phone. That we're very happy to answer questions as well. Our email was up there in the last slide. I don't know, it went by too quickly, but also you're more than welcome to contact us.
I do have the presentation, and I will share that, so no problem. Okay.
Well, thank you. Enjoy your evening. It's snowing here in Washington, D.C. Hopefully not too bad in...
No snow, only in the mountains.
Okay, so we're all hoping for summer, so we're all looking forward to it.
Session.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.